I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts of what I want from your papers that the TA is going to be grading. And in this class, your TA is Dennis. We're going to talk about Chapter 3, the value chain, internal, strength, weaknesses, competitive advantage, what's new, what's new, and a little Q&A. All right, so if you need to see me, I'm available right after class. So if you're having issues with the paper, if you're getting more than 10% on your safe assign, or if you're 20%, I'm going to just delete your paper and make you do it over again. So there's no excuse for anything above 10%, but 20% is my cutoff. Okay, so right after class, as long as needed, I'll be here. If nobody shows up, I'll be here for at least 15 minutes. If not, email me, even call me. I put my cell phone number on there, so you can call me if you want. Have a conversation. I love talking to people. All right, emails. If I don't respond immediately to your email, I probably will answer it in class. If there's a lot of the same questions. If it's extended, needs complex answers, see me during office hours. I'm not going to write a 5-page email. I got better things to do than write 300 different students' emails. If you're asking a question about something I already went over in class, I probably won't answer your email because you should know it. Okay. So on the mini papers and the mini quizzes or for the chapters, do you use a current article you read recently? Do you use the template? I put that up there, posted it. Everybody should have it. Everybody knows about it, or they should know about it. If you don't, you do now. Do you use the concepts from the book? Please make it clear which concept you're using. Get to the point rather quickly than later. Do you use a proper format? That is the page, how the paper is formatted. And do 1 full page of content, not half a page, and not 2 pages, not 3/4 of a page, but a full page. You guys can do that, right? And do get to the point rather quickly. State your purpose in your first paragraph. Do a topic sentence, do a paragraph, do a supporting paragraph, do it correctly. What I don't want to see is regurgitating a lot of stuff like IBM in your papers that we've done. Don't give me a history lesson on these companies. Amazon, we know everybody knows the history of Amazon. Excuse me. Everybody knows the history of a lot of these companies. I don't need a history lesson. You need to get to the point rather quickly. Okay, don't regurgitate the definitions from the book. I know them. I've read the book at least 3 times now. So if you really feel you need to use a definition because I don't know it or my TA doesn't know it, then use it. But we pretty much know everything when it comes to the definitions in the book. Don't plagiarize 89% on one paper. That's unacceptable. I already talked about this. 10% is pushing it. Anything over 20 will be, you won't get a credit for. All right. Many of you use COVID as a good example. That's good. Now, but what you didn't do is correlate it with what it's doing and how companies are taking competitive advantage. So like, for example, Zoom, they were reliable and easy to use. So when the COVID came around, they even made it even more easy to use. And even, senior citizens who are not, are up to date on the computers are even able to use it. Of course, so they had some difficulties. It's kind of funny sometimes having meetings with some of these people in the beginning. It was very funny. So features that they have were free. If you needed to upgrade, like for example, UCR upgraded me to a pro version so I can have 300 students at one time. No yawning, Mark, you're going to make me fall asleep. All right, so the grading criteria for your papers, 5 points, excellent. Yes, I do correct on punctuation, spelling, grammar, all that. That's your TA is going to do that. 99% of you won't get a 5. You'll get maybe a 4.5. It needs to be brilliant, ready to be published, a scholastic journal. So a 5 is something that you can strive for. Very few of you are going to get it, but a few of you can do it. 4.5 is what most people are going to get, which is right in between excellent and good. Strong, proficient, good quality, almost no errors, well thought out, no errors in spelling or grammar, well structured paragraphs. You guys are all seniors in college. You guys can write a strong paper. There's no excuse not to, especially with a universal translator called Google. Even if your English is a second language, you can still use Google and cheat and write a great paragraph. 3, 2, 1, 0. If you get those, you're in big trouble. Your TRIA is grading your papers, so talk to them first, and then if you can't resolve any issues, see me. But I'm pretty sure your TA should be able to resolve everything with you. Citations. Okay, give credit where credit is due. You don't need a formal page, nor even a formal citation. Just tell me where and why, how. A footnote is good. Just put something in the footnote. This is my citation. This is where I got it from. This is who came up with that wonderful idea. So, or in your paper, just put like something according to Philip J. Fry in his article, Suck it, Zoidberg. This form of self-loathing is conductive to the 21st century. So something of that nature is fine too. Okay. You guys all understand? Questions? Concerns? Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, all right, I'll go first. So for the citation, for the footnote, is it supposed to be just the website or like MLA format, like citation?
It depends on where you got your information from. So if you read an article on a website, then just put down the website. You can put it in a proper format. That's that's always a good thing. So that's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So just make sure you just, if it's not your original idea, just make sure you footnote it and tell your TA or tell me. And in a lot of articles, it's not going to be your original idea. It's going to be something you read. I don't know, something on Walmart. You say, hey, according to this article on Walmart, the reason the distribution has become so successful is because of the technology they use, and this is the technology, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So everybody's survey was graded. So that was an easy 10 points. If you didn't answer the questions, I didn't give you points. There's a few people, I don't know why, for whatever reason, they didn't answer the questions. They just put down and submitted it. So I gave them 0 points. But if you came late, registered to this class late, or you came late, do the survey, get your points. I didn't know there was a lot of people dealing with cancer, and I sympathize with you, and I know what you're going through, as I've had loved ones and friends, very close friends, battle cancer, some successfully, some not successfully. So I didn't know there were so many people out there dealing with that. Other issues, myself, I had COVID. I was in the hospital for a week right before this class started. That's why I've been sick, and I've been trying to recover from it, and it's been very, very difficult. But I know what you're going through. And those of you who are working full time, I did that through every single degree I've earned. I've always worked full time, so I completely understand. So any other issues about that?
Yeah, one more actually. Sorry. So you said like you're using the Walmart case as an example. You're like, oh, if you have a reference case for the mini cases, but my TA told me that we have to just use the case for those papers, no outside references.
You can do whatever you want. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. So if you want to use 100 different references, go ahead. But remember, in the beginning, I said don't make it difficult on yourself. Actually, the whole book is what you need to base your paper on. So don't make it more difficult for yourself.
Okay, so we can use outside references?
You can use 100 different references. I don't care.
Okay, thanks.
And if you list 100 different references on 100 pages, I'm going to get very bored with reading your paper.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
There are
Professor.
a couple. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just to be clear on the mini cases and the mini chapter papers, we don't have to use an article though, right? We can just use the book.
Yeah, you can just use the book on the mini cases. So the book goes over the mini cases and tells you exactly all the information you need, and all the questions I ask you are in the book.
Okay, and that's for the 1-page and the 2-page papers, right?
1 page is a review of the chapters that you're reading, okay? And the 2 page is for the mini cases.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Giuseppe, that's my favorite pizza place in Portland, Oregon. All right. What else we got? Are we supposed to use the article or just the book? I don't know. I don't understand. Oh, okay. You just answered that, Giuseppe. And can anyone see plagiarism rate? On your midterm and final, you'll see the plagiarism rate on your mini papers. You shouldn't be able to, or you don't need to see them. Just don't regurgitate the same information in word for word. And you should be fine. And if you're over 20%, I will let you know. All right, questions, concerns? Shall we move on? Yes. Good choice. All right. So in review, we talked about week 1, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threat, which is our SWOT, and the internal and external portions of that. Chapter 2, we talked about Porter's 5 forces, threat of new entry, buyer power, threat of substitutions, power supply, supplier power, and competitive rivalry. And then competitive advantage and strategy is always not what you do, but sometimes what you don't do. And that's Michael Porter. See, I gave him credit right there. All right. So internal, external. We talked about strategic advantage and competitive advantage. Strategic management and competitive advantage. And knowing what makes markets to compete in or not to compete in, when to get out. Your Walmart, that's not due yet, so I won't give you the answers, but your Walmart is all about what markets to compete in, what markets not to compete in. For example, how Walmart uses or goes into small markets first, something under 50,000. What unique value the firm will offer in those markets. Walmart can put if you're a manufacturer, they can put 11,000 or they can put your product on 11,000 different shelves. The resources and capabilities required to offer that unique value better than any of the competitors. The distribution center of Walmart and the distribution network is nobody compares to it. Even Amazon has a hard time with how efficient Walmart is with their distribution and logistics. Ways to sustain the advantage by preventing imitation. Toyota is a prime example of this. It's very hard for other car companies to imitate them, the way they do business. Okay, so the Porter's 5 forces, a little review. Questions 1 and 2? Good. Okay, we'll move on. So your book on chapter 3 talks about the Disney company, Walt and his brother. There's a little blurb that they do in the beginning. And it's about knowing your strengths, weaknesses, and competitive advantage, which Walt knew. Internal analysis, Walt was very, very aware of what he had to offer. And even though it looked bleak there in the beginning, they knew what their competitive advantage was, which is they were using state-of-the-art equipment when it came to animation. And so 1930s, I'm not sure what exactly the state-of-the-art of equipment was. Innovation in the industry, they were very, very innovative. They knew exactly what to do in the industry. Technicolor and Snow White in 1938, one of the first color cartoons. and multi-plane camera, and Fantasia surround, almost like a surround sound. And know your value chain. And value chain is something we're going to talk about this week, and it's something that is going to be based on your midterm. So pay attention to the value chain. Ah, look here, we got a picture of the value chain. So this is Porter's value chain. It's broken up into two sections: primary value activities. Primary activities is what a company does primarily, and support secondary value activities is how the company runs internally. Okay, your value chain is going to be different depending on the kind of company you're in and the industry you're in. But it's basically broken up into two types of industry: service industry and manufacturing. Manufacturing is taking raw materials and making them into finished goods. Service, anything from restaurants, accounting, personal fitness, grocery stores, the list just goes on. Okay. So different types of industries your book talks about. All these types of industry, even though their value chain can be broken down to the basic elements, they're all slightly different. Everything technology, space, all that good stuff. So the value chain, the definition, a vision description of the steps required to turn raw materials into finished products and or services. The value chain also describes key functions of the firm linked to each stage and functions that span the productive activities of the firm. So the value chain is everything the firm needs and uses to take raw materials and turn them into finished goods, whether those raw materials are labor, information, or service, or actual raw steel. Okay, this is a little bit more detailed value chain. This is the one I want you to know. Okay, so for example, the value chain in manufacturing appliances is going to be a little bit different. And your outbound logistics, you're going to take the raw materials. Do you guys know what intermediate goods are? Does anybody know what intermediate goods?
Goods that are partially manufactured.
Pretty good. Goods like nuts, bolts, screws, things that are already made that you use, or sometimes motors, motors are already assembled and ready to go. They'll just place them inside the refrigerator or whatever they are. So intermediate goods are goods that are already manufactured, that are complete, that are placed into an item. Okay, so the manufacturing process, which is assembly, marketing and sales, and after-sales service. Okay, so there's as many different value chains as there are different manufacturers or industries. So each one's a little bit different, but they basically look like this. Okay, so depending on what your business is and what your service is, they vary from time to time. Especially administrative, finance, infrastructure, legal, accounting. For example, Toyota has a very small legal department as opposed to General Motors, which is huge, and they're always dealing with lawsuits. The difference between Toyota and General Motors is Toyota actually invests in their vendors. They buy part of their business. They work with them as partners, as opposed to General Motors, who uses everybody at arm's length contract as a vendor, and they end up having to sue them or having legal issues with them quite a bit. So that's kind of a difference in the value chain that you'll see. Even within the same industry, you'll see the difference of the value chain. All right. So resources, all assets, capabilities, organizational processes, firm attributes, information, knowledge, and so on, controlled by a firm. Assets, tangible or intangible resources or factors of production that create economic value for the firm when employed. So there's 4 different categories that we're going to talk about: physical resources, financial resources, human resources, and intangible resources. Ooh, got a poll. All right, so let's launch the poll. Make sure you guys are awake. A few more seconds. All right, let's end the poll. So, what is a logo? It looks like everybody pretty much knows what a logo is. That's good. A symbol, name, or trademark of a company. Woohoo. All right. Got another poll. All right, let's see here. Okay, a logo is a tangible asset or a intangible asset or no asset. What do you guys think? All right, looks like you guys did your reading. Okay, so a poll is an intangible asset. Some logos are worth billions of dollars. You know, just the trademark and the name. And for example, Disney. Look at how much Disney outsources its name and for manufacturing toys, clothing, all kinds of different things. All right, we broke up the monotony. Here we go. Let's get rid of the poll and move on. So capabilities, the procedures, process, and routines firms employ in their activities. So for example, manufacturing capabilities for the Honda motors. Honda's been doing motors for 100 years. Their capabilities and operating capabilities and dynamic capabilities, they've been practicing them for over 100 years just on their motors. So priority, a firm's value, rankings of what is most important. So obviously for Honda, making motors is one of their top priorities. Competitive parity, when a company survives but has no real competitive advantage over rivals. There are many companies out there, especially in my industry, with the copiers, the printers, the multifunctional machines. Companies are surviving, HP, Lexmark, Xerox, but they really don't have any competitive advantage over any of their rivals. You know, making a copy is pretty much the same no matter what machine you make it on. It's all pretty much the same. Scanning a document, it doesn't matter which machine you really scan one on, it's all the same. So that would be an example of a competitive parity. All right, next we talk about VRIO, valuable, rare, imitable, organized. We want to see if our company meets these criteria. If it does meet all these criteria, then we can create a sustainable competitive advantage over our competitors. So just because it's valuable, if you just buy a bunch of gold and put it in your safe, doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable. When a resource is valuable, it's provided the organization with some sort of benefit. So just holding gold in your safe and your company is not going to have any benefit for you. So it has to be actually some kind of resource or benefit into any of the other dimensions of the framework is not a competitive advantage. If you were a jeweler and making gold chains, yes, then having raw materials such as gold in your safe is a valuable resource. Otherwise, not really. Rare, a resource that is uncommon and not possessed by most organizations, is rare. When a resource is both valuable and rare, you have a resource that gives you a competitive advantage. De Beers, not necessarily possessing the diamonds, but possessing how much diamonds are mined is the rare resources that De Beers has. So everybody knows that diamonds are not necessarily a rare or scarce resource, but they are very well managed, so they are not flooding the market, and there's not too many of them out there. Imitable resources are hard to imitate if they are extremely expensive for another organization to acquire them. A resource may also be hard for an organization to imitate if it's protected by legal means, such as patents or trademarks. When Xerox came out with the first copier, it was patented and trademarked. Nobody else can make that type of copier. So for years and years and years, they had a monopoly. They had the only government contracts, which to this day are still worth billions of dollars. So Xerox had an advantage that way. So nobody could imitate them. They couldn't copy them. So that's something else. Organized, an organization's resources is organized to capture value only if it's supported by the process, structure, and culture of the company. A resource that is valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and organized to capture value is a long-term competitive advantage. So for example, in De Beers, you can't just go open up a diamond mine. They control all of the diamonds, they control the market, they control everything. So they are organized to control pretty much the whole industry. So if it's yes to all of these, then you have a sustained competitive advantage. If it's no to one or two of these, it doesn't, you can still have a competitive advantage. It's just not going to be as strong. Our example of Cobra beer. Remember we were talking about Cobra beer. Is it valuable? Is it rare? Is it imitable? People are not exactly copying the recipe, so no, it's not. And organized, difficult to substitute. So when you make a beer that goes especially well with Indian food, that's not something that people are going to be easily. It's not going to be easily organized to do. But if you practice at it and you become